Morning. This video message is reference the government's energy company obligation and why it's not functioning as it should be. But firstly, after reading some comments on LinkedIn, which is a mechanism that I use as a CRM to communicate or will be communicating with my network of housing associations and local authorities regarding the issues in market and the validations that have took place since 2012 to this current date of uncovering facts and issues that are causing you substantial problems and a lot of them that you're not aware of. The content on LinkedIn, when I see a third party comment, this is the problem with our industry. The problem with your industry is it is not your industry. This is a government obligation which has been put in play for the energy companies to deliver, and a mechanism that is only allowing or should allow the energy companies and the asset owners to have a relationship direct for the value of the carbon savings and enable the more bigger issue of energy security to be dealt with. And that means enabling penetration to what is the most biggest issue in this country is data infrastructure. So you can't stipulate that it's your industry. It's not your industry. You've built your businesses around a gap in regulation. Now, if you're an eco-installer, fantastic. Please ensure that you get your sales either on the energy companies procuring infrastructure or the housing associations infrastructure procuring, because it's only those two mechanisms that have a frequency when it comes to the value of a currency exchange for a carbon saving measure. However, there is an even bigger issue that has not been recognised by government in terms of the end-to-end process of how the information goes in through the mechanism into banking to be calculated, to back out, to come back and pay people, is the fact that that measure has a life cycle. And there is no way of measuring that life cycle at this current moment in time, and something that I've recoded and put in the Innovate UK bid for the purpose of. Now, it's not about Helen Trott having a process or it's Helen's done this. It's because I've researched it for the point of it's not being delivered, it's not being dealt with right, and we have no way of measuring carbon emission factoring within this country. So it needs dealing with. Now, it doesn't really matter that government have currently got their current infrastructure set up, because the transaction and synchronisation of the energy major environment obligated, those that are actually dealing with the obligation internally with their own governance and offsetting it with third parties, and housing sector sync together and make that work. And when I say sync, it's a synchronisation. A strategic housing asset management, the same as the strategic group strategy of an energy major. Both are trying to achieve a 2020 vision, but this mess in the middle of the market is illegal. So, under the Data Protection Act 1998, the only way that a housing association by law is allowed to see what is what in terms of the value of carbon on their assets and how they can actually best gain money from an energy provider in the interests of the public and their tenants and the rest of the communities. This applies to non-stockholding local authorities as well, because you have a duty under the community obligations that your chief executives should be abiding by. So let's just deal with this. And later on today, there is going to be a link going out to housing associations, only a select number to start with, because I don't want to burn myself out, because I'm already irritated at the arrogance that I am encountering, because people don't like a woman actually stipulating something with facts, technically. So I've spent time, housing sector, also investigating the energy companies in the mechanisms that I do in the way that I do. And that's from the pyramid top up, down, the layers. And then the circle with their prongs of P&L that don't communicate to give you what is needed. So there's a bit of give and take here, and for the benefit to actually work. So there's a massive risk assessment that needs to be done, and we're on a very fine line now. Banking starts with the energy majors end of this year, back end of this year. And through my research, there has been errors on the current systems that interface into the energy major environment. And that hasn't been rectified and dealt with and recalled. There has also been measures applied to properties where fudging of EPCs have happened, unaware of the energy provider environment, and subsequently regulation have gone and fined the energy companies for nothing. That it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's that gap. It's those bits in the gap that are depreciating this country's economy. So I'm just putting a message out there that there are facts on the table. The Department of Energy, Climate and Change have also had information. There's a lot of information out there, and I have also put that request through for it to be made to be public knowledge. And give you a simple example of why I do what I do. Any business that got offered £100,000 would normally take that money and try and deliver something for the sake of it. Instead, I chose to cripple myself and reject that 100k from the fourth largest local authority in the UK, purely because 2 points. The 1 point I won't speak about on here because that's going off somewhere else. But the second point was the environmental damage that had been done to the area through previous obligations by contractors, and the way the information and data have been handled. Now, to reject 100k into an intellectual process to be built to bridge the gap, bridge community direct into the energy provider environment for the purpose of UK sustainability and its policy and the strategic housing asset management policy, which no one seems to be adhering to within market. Don't use the term to me, it's your market. It's not your market. You function round government's obligation and the obligated organisations, corporations that carry that obligation to deliver it. There is no third party mechanism. There is a process, but there is not a third party engagement. It doesn't work. It's proven. Deal with it.